This is a presentation of BSRN, Box Studios Radio Network. The Power Play Post Show is on the air, covering minor league hockey since 2003, and now covering the Binghamton Black Bears with news, reactions, and in-depth interviews only heard here. And now from the Box Studios in Kirkwood, New York, here is your host of the Power Play Post Show, Bob Howard.
And hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Power Play Post Show. This is the show for March 6th. 2025. This is season 14, episode number 48, and episode number 487 in the long-running podcast that is the Power Play Post Show. Hello, everyone. I am your host, Bob Howard. Thank you very much for joining us here on this Power Play Post Show. What are we in the first week of March? And the Binghamton Black Bears are obviously, trying to fine-tune their team and get ready for the playoffs. And there's a lot that goes into that, right? There's a lot that goes into a team getting ready, right? You're still continuously watching video, trying to improve on some of the small things, the fundamentals, The things that I keep talking about is something that they probably are looking at, like the blue lining, just making sure that you have good transitions from your defensive zone into the neutral zone and not turning over the pucks, things of that nature. There is bringing in new players, right? You bring in new college rookies or junior rookies, so to speak, and you can get up to 5 of those, right? And as long as they play 5 games, and if they're guys that are going to help you in the playoffs, they get those 5 games in, they can play in the playoffs. So the Black Bears, that's the mode that they're in right now, right? They got to win every game, and they got to try to remember. And this is a total mental thing, right? You got to play shift to shift, and that's it, right? Period to period. And game to game. You cannot think about games that are past this weekend, or you can't think about, what am I going to do in the second period, so on and so forth. No, you got to think about shift to shift, so to speak. And so the Black Bears, not just mentally, but they also physically have to stay keen, right? They have to stay sharp. They have to stay healthy. Obviously, we all know that Kyle Steffen is, going to continue on the IR. I've been told he's going to probably be back. But, there are things like that that are going to happen. We got the new kid, Darian, who has joined the team, played, and got an assist on Tyson Kirkby's. That's not going to be the only guy. We might actually see a goaltender come into the fold. And we haven't seen that in a few years, where a goaltender's come in late at the end of the season. It's been a couple years since we've seen that as well. But those are the type of things that keeps your team ready and active, especially when you've won 38 games and you have won 17 in a row, right? You have to, in a sense, go back and do some of the things that you might be doing naturally if you were losing a game or two more, right? Because when you lose a game, you can rip apart that game. You can take a look at that game, and you can, find the things that you need to work on. But when you're winning, and you're winning 17 in a row or 25 out of the last 26 games, right? It's hard to find fault in things, right? And I know Brant probably does that more than anybody, right? Not find fault in his players, but faults in their games that they can work on. Do things, right? That's his job. His legacy is to improve as a head coach and to get his team to improve even when they're winning. And sometimes I've said multiple times, actually, over the last couple years, I believe you can learn as much through winning as you do through losing. Of course, with losing, you look at things a little bit differently through a different colored glasses, so to speak, right, than you do when you're winning games, right? Because you won't necessarily nitpick, even though sometimes you might have to nitpick to find things that you can continue to bring up in conversation or during practices or in video. And I can tell you right now that Brant is always looking for ways for the team to improve, even when they're on a 17-game winning streak. It's just in his nature. He can't stop that. It's just a part of who he is, which is what makes him a very good coach. Now, this past weekend, we saw some milestones, right? The 100 points for Dakota Bond. Gavin Yates got his 300th FPHL point. He also got his 200th Binghamton Black Bears point. And it really, you can't really talk enough about how much Gavin Yates and Tyson Kirkby have meant to Binghamton hockey for the past 4 years, right? Gavin was there a little bit before Tyson, but Tyson playing in the last 25% of the games in the first season, and then just has done so much since then. You know, he's now the franchise leader in games played, goals, assists, points. At the moment, power play goals, shorthanded goals. Tyson basically controls that. And Gavin Yates is in the top 5 in a lot of the offensive categories. These guys have meant a lot to Binghamton hockey. And they're even pushing themselves into the top 25s, and in Tyson's case, the top 10 of Binghamton hockey history when it comes to some of the stats. But one of the things that I'm very happy about is that stats are great, and those guys put up numbers in each game. But we here at the Power Play Post Show want to continue growing what we provide to you in content. I do a lot of writing. I put it into the Facebook group, and we now are adding Taylor Welch to that as well, where she's going to be talking about some impact players. She's going to pick 2. I'm going to pick 1, and then she's going to write about those 3 players. And this upcoming weekend, the impact players will start Sunday, and it'll be really kind of a rough look at the 3 games that the Black Bears and the Bobcats are going to play, and then she's going to write about it, and it's going to be on the Power Play Post Show Facebook group. I'll pick a player. She'll pick 2 players. She'll write about them, and that'll be there on the Power Play Post Show Facebook group page, which is very cool. So I'm very happy and excited to have Taylor do that. I'm going to be doing up the graphic that'll kind of go with it, you know. And we introduced that today. She's also going to be an admin on our Facebook group, which is pretty cool. Essentially, the only thing I really have to moderate when I do that is just basically saying yes or no to people who join the group. So very excited about that. Again, I've always wanted to kind of grow what we do, but not necessarily take on that much more work to do that. And I think this is going to benefit everybody. And I think everybody's going to really enjoy reading a little bit more, because sometimes, you know, I remember a game where Dakota Bond didn't necessarily put up anything on the score sheet, but he was impactful on the ice. Right? We see that sometimes with Dan Weber. Dan Weber sometimes, I mean, he's not a score machine. He's not going to go out there and get you, 3 or 4 goals in a game or 3 points or whatever. But the plays that he makes on the ice are sometimes very important. And I think that's something that we really want to highlight, right? Because you got the 3 stars of the game, and 3 stars of the game are usually your goal scorers and your point makers, and sometimes a shutout, and so a goalie gets in there for that for the 3 stars. But we want to talk about the impact players. Sometimes impact players are not the 3 stars. Okay. And so I'm very excited for you guys to get to read that stuff. So let's get to the main stuff, because I got 2 great interviews for you guys this week. And one that I've been really kind of excited about having Andrew Logar back here on the Power Play Post Show. So let's just get into this. The Power Play Post Show is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, YouTube, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Just search Power Play Post Show on whichever platform you listen to your podcast, and please subscribe. Please join the Power Play Post Show Facebook group. Just go to Facebook and search Power Play Post Show. Check out BinghamtonHockey.net for all your Binghamton hockey information and curiosity. And on this edition of the Power Play Post Show from the Blue Ridge Bobcats, broadcaster Brett Wiseman. We're going to be playing those guys, so why not talk to Brett about the Bobcats and, of course, about the weekend series. And then former Binghamton Black Bears forward and Commissioner Cup champion Andrew Logar joins the show as well. All right, so let's get into it. I already talked a little bit about the Kyle Steffen IR stint has been extended for 2 more weeks. I think it's retroactive to 3-2. I think it was announced yesterday, but I think it goes back to Sunday the 2nd, I believe. In talking with Coach Sherwood, he said Steph should be fine and should be able to return to the Black Bears soon. I'm going to guess probably in 2 weeks. Kyle last played and was injured in the game against the HC Venom on February 14th, Valentine's Day. He had no shots on goal in that particular game. He has missed 5 games and will at least miss these 3 games against the Bobcats this weekend, and then potentially both games against Danbury and the Carolina Thunderbirds, which is the weekend of the 15th and the 16th. Now, I think that Chris Mott has done a phenomenal job at being the second-line center, and this is really a time for him to showcase his play, right? And the things that he can do on the same line as someone like Gavin Yates, and hopefully Gavin will be back this upcoming weekend. I have not heard anything, which is good and bad, right? I mean, if you don't hear anything, you got to take it as that everything is good on that end and that he'll be okay. He was walking with a limp on Saturday, so we'll see how Gavin is doing. Remember, Gavin is, I want to say, 60% of his play is with those legs. I mean, he can skate, right? He can really, really skate, and he really drives when he skates. So again, it's very important that his legs are okay. And if he had a little bit of a limp, and of course, if you saw the bang into the boards and the way his body kind of stopped and then went into the boards, that was pretty tough. And even though he wanted to come back on Saturday and play, he had a friend in town, a buddy of his, he just couldn't play, right? So it'll be interesting to see when Steph plays again. Now, Steph was out earlier in the season with an injury as well, so he's not played the full season that I think he and Brant Sherwood would have liked him to do. And speaking of Brant Sherwood, let's talk a little bit about a milestone that's coming up for him, and that could happen, obviously, this weekend. Brant Sherwood is about to earn a milestone, his 100th regulation win as a head coach. Now, there's some debate about this, and we'll talk about the debate here in just a second. Under his watch with the team is 99-24-11 in a 134 games coached, okay? Now, if you consider and factor in his naughty time, yes, he's had naughty time, he is 94-22-11 because in the 7 games that he's been suspended for in the last 3 seasons, the team was 5-2-0. So, one person can say he's 99-24-11 through 134 games, and someone else could say that he's 94-22-11 through 127 games because he was actually behind the bench for those 127 games. However, I can't find anywhere that I can't find anywhere where coaches were not credited with wins and losses when they were suspended, because realistically they coached their team all throughout the week and during practices. And in the FPHL, you're allowed to be in the locker room during intermissions for the games. You just can't be behind the bench. Is really what it comes down to. So, but if you take his 99-24-11, you add in his playoff record, which is 10-2, which makes him 109-26-11. But the playoffs and the regular season are never combined. I also could not find where head coaches, like I said, were ever not credited with the wins and losses when they were suspended. So if you think about it here, he's going to get his 100th regulation win probably sometime this weekend against Blue Ridge. And again, you can count or not count the suspended games. Doesn't really matter. Congratulations to him. If you think about it, what he has done, I mean, if he ends up being, again, 124-11, that is a pretty darn good winning percentage for him. So congratulations to Brant Sherwood when you do hit that number. The Black Bears will be traveling, as we've already discussed, down to the Blue Ridge Mountains this weekend for 3 games and 3 nights, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday against the Blue Ridge Bobcats. These are the first ever meetings between the Black Bears and the Bobcats, as they did not play each other last season in the Bobcats' inaugural season. The Bobcats are in 5th place in the Continental Division with a record of 21-15-1 with 67 points, which would be good for 3rd place in the Empire Division. The Black Bears are 1st place in the Empire Division with a record of 38-4-1 with 110 points, 1 win, or basically 4 points. I apologize. 4 points, and the Black Bears have clinched the division. Gary Ryan, you have sucked me into the whole clinching the division thing. All right. This is the 2nd straight opponent for the Bobcats, as last weekend, or I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. This is the 2nd straight Empire Division opponent for the Bobcats, as last weekend they split a 2-game weekend series with the Venom, winning 4-3 on Friday night and then losing 4-3 on Saturday night to the Venom, both games being played at the Hitachi Energy Arena. The Bobcats grabbed all 3 points on Friday night in a regulation win, while the Venom got a shootout win on Saturday night as Caleb Kinski scored the only shootout goal for either team. The Black Bears last weekend defeated the Dashers Hockey Club in both games last Friday, 9-0. Nolan Egbert getting the shutout in that game, and then a 7-1 win on Saturday. That was CMAC's 24th win, which is the league lead right now. Tyson Kirkby had a hat trick on Friday night and then scored his franchise-leading 110th goal of his Black Bears career on Saturday. And, of course, again, he now holds the franchise lead in pretty much all the stats, except for game-winning goals. That right now is still held by Austin Thompson. The Bobcats are led by their captain, Danny Martin, who in 28 games played has 9 goals, 23 assists for 32 points. Nicholas McHugh and former Black Bear Nicholas Stuckless have the team's lead in goals with 10. Former Black Bears forward Andrew Utero was released this past week from the Bobcats, or actually this week, and is already home in Michigan. He was to receive his Commissioner Cup ring while the Black Bears were in town, but I'm going to guess they're going to find another way to get the cup ring to and Utero for sure. Greg Hussey, 3-2-2 with a 3.23 goals against average and a 912 save percentage, and Connor Green, 2-4-2, 3.28 goals against average and a 910 save percentage, are the netminders on the team at the moment, and it looks like that might be the way it is for a while. And Greg Hussey has come in. I mean, he shut out. I think he shut out Athens this year, and he's also shut out Carolina as well. The Black Bears are led by Tyson Kirkby, as we all know, 32-45 for 77 points in 36 games played with 10 power play goals, 4 shorthanded goals, and 4 game-winning goals. Austin Thompson, 28-27 for 55 points, Mr. Consistency in 43 games played with 4 power play goals, 3 shorthanded goals, and 8 game-winning goals, which I believe is tied for the league lead right now in game-winning goals. The Black Bears have 10 players. Now understand, with the roster that the Bobcats have, I think if you add Michael McCurry, who's going to play this weekend, they have 3 guys with 10 goals or more. The Black Bears now have 10 players with double-digit goals scored, and Chris Mott and Zach Sirota now have 9 goals and could this weekend hit 10 goals as well. Connor McAnanima is 24-2-1 with a 2.11 goals against average and a 970 save percentage. He's been pretty much stellar except for like one game this whole season. Nolan Egbert is 14-2-0 with a 3.19 goals against average and an 887 save percentage. Okay, now let's take a look at the special teams between these two teams. Binghamton's power play is back on top. That's right. They are ranked number 1 in the league. They have 57 power play goals, a percentage of 26% of the time. So if you give them four power play opportunities, it's almost guaranteed they're going to score at least one of those 4 times. On the penalty kill, they are ranked 3rd, which is where they've been for the past few weeks, with only 29 power play goals giving up and an 86% save percentage. Carolina is just so dominant on the penalty kill. I cannot wait to see that penalty kill come in and see what they do against the Black Bears or what the Black Bears can do against the Thunderbirds. Blue Ridge Bobcats, power play, ranked 12th. Only 19 power play goals this season. 13%. 13% is how much they fire on. So almost half. So if the Black Bears are getting 1 out of 4, they're only getting 1 out of 8. So you got to look at it that way. So very much a totally different, skill level when it comes to the power play at the moment between these two teams. Now, on the penalty kill, they are ranked 10th. They've given up 36 power play goals against, and that is a 78% ranking as well. So that's pretty much it. That's all I have for you guys this week. Of course, Kyle Staffen, as I mentioned, will not be playing this weekend. My guess is we'll see a little bit more of Darian. We're obviously going to see Emerson Emery play, and of course Zach Sirota is going to get time. Chris Ma, I think, will probably be on the second line center unless that changes. Because I really do like Josh Fletcher, Scott Ramakers down on that third line together. I think they mesh. They have a very good playing, chemistry. So I don't see that changing. But again, Ramakers can play on any line on this team. He could probably play any position on this team. That's how versatile I think he is. He's a utility player like you never seen. All right, so coming up next here on the Power Play Post Show, we are going to have Brett Wiseman, the Bobcats broadcaster, and then after him, we'll talk to Andrew Logar right here on the Power Play Post Show. We'll be right back right after this.
Hi, this is Don Biggs from the 92-93 Binghamton Rangers.
Hi, this is Brandon Buczynski.
This is Grady Wittenberg, the voice of the Binghamton Senators, and you're listening to the Power Play Post Show.
Here is another Power Play Post Show interview exclusive with Bob Howard.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Power Play Post Show. Very happy to have this gentleman back on with us to kind of preview what's coming up for the Black Bears and the Bobcats. He is their broadcaster. He's our friend. He was on the show last year. He comes to us, obviously, from the Blue Ridge Bobcats. He is their broadcaster, Brett Wiseman. Brett, welcome back to the show. It's great to have you on.
Always great to be with you, Bob. Happy to be here.
Great. Let's talk a little bit about the Black Bears season, or the Bobcats season so far. Obviously, an improvement, definitely in the standings. You guys are sitting 5th right now with 21 wins, 15 losses, and 5 overtime losses. Talk to me a little bit about the changes that were made in the offseason that kind of led into a team that was able to get wins a little bit quicker and easier this year than maybe, say, last year.
Well, something that Wojtek Zemlika made very clear at the start of the year, especially to the guys that returned last year, there was a moment after the season finale in Watertown, or against Watertown. We'd beaten Carolina 2 weeks before that for the first time. Mm-hmm. We'd beaten Columbus a week before that for the first time. All the guys that we had at that time, everything was starting to come together, and then, boom, April 13th, season's over, and guys are crying in the locker room. And the point that Wojtek Zemlika made is, hey, this is our plan, this is our culture. We're going to get not just the most talented guys in here, we're going to get the most talented, great people we can find and great fits for this family atmosphere that we want to cultivate, because family equals success most of the time. And the best way to not feel what some of you felt April 13th at about 10:30 is to go out there and pick up points night in and night out. I mean, we're still a young team.
Yeah,
we're still hungry. There's still going to be opportunities to learn along the way. We're going to have to learn a lot of things the hard way, but it's going to make us better later in the year. And we've gotten to that point, I think, like I told you before we went on, just a better sense of culture and system and style of play, and a more talented, a deeper roster. I think depth is definitely the key word. Mm-hmm. We were a little bit top heavy last year in terms of scoring, and there wasn't a whole lot of size or puck maneuverability on the back end. And you look at the guys that we've been able to bring in on defense. You look at a guy like Klenecki, who was a defenseman of the year 5 years ago. Look at a guy like Levac. He started the year in Roanoke. Igor Romanov, such a smooth skater. Denis Radchenko, he's 6'6", but he skates like he's 5'11". Mm-hmm. Mike Mercurio's coming back this weekend. That's somebody that fans up there know quite well from his time in Watertown. And adding Brandon Reller this weekend, too, I think is going to be huge, but we'll get into that later on.
So you spoke a little bit about family, and it sounds like to me that the culture in the locker room is very important to Zemi. Can you talk about that for a second?
Yeah, and you know the biggest point to that was right after Hunter Verostek went to Knoxville. Mm-hmm. Greg Hussey had filled in for us earlier in the season because he still lives in Winston-Salem. He filled in for us in Winston-Salem back in November when Hunter Verostek was injured.
Yep.
At the start of the year in the first weekend meeting with Carolina. And Greg stepped in and didn't miss a beat. And he came in a few weeks ago after Hunter went to Knoxville and did the exact same thing and ended up shutting out a team that hadn't been shut out all year.
Yeah. And
he's 36 years old. He's fresh off the pine. He's been goalie coaching Appalachian State for the last 2 months. So he just hopped right in and made it work. But the answer to your question, I know it's long-winded, but the answer to your question was, Zemi and I talked about this on the coaches show a few weeks ago when, I kind of asked him, just talk about how much of a consummate pro Greg is and how does a 36-year-old fresh off the pine walk in and shut out a team that was averaging 5.5 goals a game coming in? And Zemi said, yeah, he's a professional. He just has that innate ability, and he's been on a lot of teams, but he made the point after that first game against Athens of that 3-game weekend that, he's been in a championship locker room in Watertown, and he said that this locker room had a very similar feeling where nobody really gives this team any shred of a shot. They look at everybody that's above them in the division like they did in Watertown previously when, in that season they were chasing Binghamton, they were chasing Danbury. Mm-hmm. Nobody really gave Watertown a shot. They came out of it and won the whole thing. So, I think this mix that we have of the veteran experience with Greg, with Danny Martin, our captain, with Daniel Klenecki, who's got an A on his chest. We've got those veteran guys surrounding this young core of hunger. And our division is a gauntlet. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. If we were in the Empire, we'd be in third. That's just the way it is. We're at 67 points, but we're in fifth. Yeah. And we've had the third hardest schedule in the league behind – I haven't looked at the RPI rankings except for ours. I usually only look at our column when Gary posts those. But we've had the third hardest schedule in the league. Yeah. And the credit to family atmosphere in the locker room is that a lot of times you can't really put your finger on that feeling. Mm-hmm. But there's times on the bench when they feel it. Mm-hmm. And it's those times when you see that team really start to turn it on.
The team lost 2 games to Columbus in Columbus, but then turned around and took 2 out of 3 from Athens. And to me, that made me go, oh, wait a second here. Losing to Columbus, okay, fine. They're usually one of the better teams every single year in, year out. You were in Carolina for a little bit. You know what I'm talking about. But then you guys come around and get those 2 out of 3 wins against Athens, which obviously must have put a lot of smile on the faces of the players, and Zemi must have been very happy with that 3-game series against Athens. Talk a little bit about that series because, first of all, a 3-0 shutout and then a 1-0 shutout. Bookending basically shutouts in between the 5-3 loss, unfortunately.
And I'm so glad you brought that up because that's kind of the turning point, and I think our statement to the FPHL world that we're here, we're not messing around,
right.
We're for real, we're here to compete. We're not here just to get in the dance. We're looking to make some noise when we do get in. And you look at Athens, what their stats were coming into that weekend. They were on an 11-game win streak.
Yep.
They were averaging 5.4 goals per game, and they had not been shut out in the 30-plus games they played up until that point.
That says a lot.
And held them to 5 goals for the whole weekend.
Yeah.
And shut them out twice when they hadn't been shut out the whole year. And the 2 guys that shut them out, one had just gotten back from Fayetteville Sunday morning, went out there Sunday night and stopped 46-46. Greg Hussey hopped off a college club coaching bench and stopped 36-36. The Saturday game, I think, if the start of the second period goes differently, we sweep it. Because you look at how well we played the back half of that second period.
Sure.
We put up 3 or 2 right at the end of that period and 1 right away in the third. We had the momentum, and we had them on their heels pretty much the rest of the game. And I think the biggest takeaway, not just from that, but you talked about playing against Columbus. We were able to go down there and take 1 of 2 back in late December. You look at we've been able to battle with Baton Rouge, and the biggest point I'll make is there's some kind of rumor floating around that we're apparently Carolina's little brother. People seem to forget that we've won. We pretty much split it halfway down the middle, with the exception of the last weekend where Carolina took 2. To take a 1-game lead in the season series. People forget we beat them 6 times this year.
Wow.
And we play them 14. So that's something that, all of us in the organization kind of want to put to bed is this notion that we're just going to roll over and quit when we play good teams. That's not how Zemi operates. But it does become a bit of an issue because, and he's talked about it, there's a tendency to play down to certain teams from playing up to the really difficult competition that we've had to play. But I think the biggest thing that we've proven is whether it's the defending champions, whether it's our rivals from 93 miles away, whether it's either of the gargantuans in the state of Georgia, we can play with anybody on any given night. And much like my alma mater in football and Appalachian State, when they play up to an opponent, we might not beat you, but we might take a point and scare the daylights out of you in the process.
Fair enough. So, you mentioned it a little bit. Let's talk about the competitiveness of the Continental Division. Some people said that, maybe Binghamton has the easiest schedule. Of course, the RPI rankings say that because of what they've done so far. But from, Winston-Salem right down to Monroe, everybody in that division is pretty competitive and pretty much can win on any given night. Maybe Winston-Salem might have the slight advantage here and there in some games. But why do you think the competition has been so good from 1 to 6 in that division all year long?
You look at the way that these teams are built and the way that these teams are structured and the way that they play, that all of these things work, but they work in different ways. You look at the successes of Carolina, Columbus, and Athens. All three of them have older veteran head coaches and overly, to some people, talented rosters. Right?
Sure.
They have MVPs and former ECHLers and SPHLers and all FPHLers up and down the board, guys that played high-level junior, et cetera. All right, cool. We'll move past that. You look at their head coaches, it's almost like this boys' club kind of style to where they're very hands-off-ish in terms of structure, instruction, this, that, and the other thing.
Okay.
So where the next three, which would be us, Monroe, and Baton Rouge, Baton Rouge, far and away, under Everett Thompson, plays an incredibly difficult style of hockey to beat. They have that trap neutral zone defensive format that has won multiple teams Stanley Cups, and they have that 2018 Capitals, 2019 Blues forecheck mantra, which we're kind of getting to a point as well, which is, hey, we might not have the most talented guys in the world, but when the puck goes in, you might want to keep your head up for a second because somebody's coming to get it.
Right.
And they just have the mentality of they've embodied the mentality of their head coach. Just as in Monroe, they've done the same thing. With our guys, they've embodied Zemi's, tireless work ethic mentality. You look at the top three, it's very hands-off. It's very much, player-driven.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's a split or a divide, but the coaches don't do as much coaching as ours does with the younger teams. But the reason you're seeing those younger teams have success is because all the guys on those rosters are 110% bought in, and that can be scary for those established teams that have older head coaches that don't really have a system or a style. They kind of just fly by the seat of their pants half the time, and that's why you've seen the Baton Rouges and the Us's of the world be able to beat the Columbuses and Carolinas and the Athenses of the world.
Yeah, and in Binghamton, Brant Sherwood has put in systems. I mean, literally, the systems that he has in place allow pretty much any player to fit into any line, and they are still obviously competitive. Zemi's systems, are they very systematic in the sense that any player from the third line, the 10th forward, can go in and play on the first line if need be?
Absolutely, yeah. And while his systems are, things are very structured in that way, much like Brant Sherwood, the way that things are designed, I talked about depth earlier on.
Yeah.
Vladdy Vlasov could be the 10th forward on any given night, and he was third on the team in points last year.
Right.
Jacob Wolf half the time doesn't necessarily need to shoot to be able to score. He just has to get close enough to the blue paint to be there for the rebound. Zemi is huge on net front presence, and he's able to shuffle guys around. And when Devin Sanders was here before he went to the Quad City Storm, he was on a line with Nick McHugh and Carson Andrioli that I called the sandpaper line. And it's kind of stuck because all three of them had this kind of, they all have skill, but all three of them also had this kind of fuse in the back of their head where you have a piece of sandpaper that's got skill written on it and a piece of sandpaper that's got grit written on it. You slam them together and you start rubbing them together, and it gets rough. There's friction. But that line isn't feeling the friction. The other team is feeling that friction. They're feeling that pressure.
Right. They're
feeling the pressure of Devin's speed, of McHugh's IQ, of Andrioli's ability to route and reroute insanely fast, knowing exactly where to go and where to be, right place, right time. When Sanders gets called up, somebody else hops in at center. It's Hunter Godmere right now. Before that, it was Nick Stuckless when Hunter was in Roanoke. Austin Belfay hopped up on that line for a while Sanders centered it. Carson's even dropped back to defense half the time for a few games. Igor Romanow's moved up to forward a couple times. So there's so many interchangeable parts and pieces to where it's set up to no one feels like they have one set position. If you look at Slagers and Klinecki, and they've said this publicly, they don't play as much defense as the other defensemen on the team.
Right.
They are more than willing to swap spots with Danny going to take Slager's spot at the left point because Slagers is down at the hash marks trying to be a forward for 5 seconds.
Right. So they have two defensemen that can pinch in and really kind of contribute when need be.
Right, and that's for as young a roster as we have, I think it's so incredible the hockey IQ that all of our guys have. I very, very rarely, with the exception of a defensive lapse here or there, leaving Gus Ford wide open on a power play, much like Austin Matthews forgot to cover Connor McDavid in overtime in the slot. Still bitter about that. But also, if any Canadians are listening, you better thank Jordan Bennington the next time you see him in person because that's your real MVP. Sorry, I had to get that in there. But the high hockey IQ that all our guys have of being able to position themselves well defensively in the neutral zone, to be able to collapse the house, protect the net on the offensive side of things, the routes that they're able to take on the forecheck, our D being smart when they pinch, not being too aggressive, knowing when the right time is to step up, but also knowing when the right time is to retreat. Those are all things that young teams have to learn and learn quickly. And like I said at the beginning, Zemi said, we're going to have to learn a lot of things the hard way, but come the last couple months of the season, we'll have learned them, and we'll be in a better spot for it, and I think we are now.
Now, you did mention that Michael Mercurio will be playing this weekend for the Bobcats. Obviously, Binghamton fans know him really well, or Binghamton players know him really well, so to speak. He was a Binghamton Black Bear shortly a couple years ago, obviously played with the Watertown Wolves. Is there anybody else that, before the end of the regular season, do you guys expect to have back?
I would say the only guy we expect that would even have a chance to be back would probably be Devin Sanders. Hunter Verostik's pretty well set in Knoxville. He's been tremendous up there, and he was so tremendous for us. He had been being looked at for quite some time, from what I understand.
Gotcha.
It was just about finding the right fit for him personally.
But it's important. But it's important to get Devin Sanders back as well, right? Because he gives you some of that offensive skill that the team may not have without him. Right,
and we have plenty of skill up and down the lineup, but Devin just adds that he just has an incredible level of speed. That at the SPHL level, it might be even or equal to half the other forwards, but in the FPHL, his speed is a killer. I mean, he has single-handedly created, if not goal-scoring opportunities, simply by hitting the R2 button rocket booster in his skates and flying past normally very sure-sticked, sure-bodied defensemen, flying past them like it's nothing. So it'd be really important to get him back.
Yeah.
But at the same time, our organization's view is, we're not one of those teams that is not going to pick up the phone. As a young team and a young organization, we're all about bettering the opportunities for each and every one of our players. And if that means that Devin Sanders or Hunter Verostik don't come back, then that's what that means. We have to find other ways to make it work. And Zemi talks about that a lot. When one guy ends up moving to the SP or wherever, it seems like everybody tries a little bit too hard to compensate. But, his message is, hey, we have the depth in this room to succeed, whether player X is here or player Y is in Peoria.
Yeah.
We can make it happen.
Yeah.
It's the psychological aspect of it. The other big ad this weekend, first of all, I want to thank Timur Gavrilovich for everything he did from being here at the start of the season. He was a great asset for us on the ice and off it. Great community guy. Our fans are going to absolutely love Brandon Reller. If you couldn't tell by the picture that I was able to find of him with the Bismarck Bobcats, where
Yes.
he looks like Fabio on bath salts.
Yes.
Yes. You are going to. I'm not going to say he's a psycho, but our fans saw him a couple weeks ago, and he plays with that edge. And Zemi talked about it, getting Mark Mercurio back. Yeah, he's insanely skilled. He's also 5'11". Now you bring in Brandon Reller, who's 6'4", 200 plus, and is not at all afraid to go mix it up when he has to. And we bring in a Patrick Colgan as well. Mm-hmm. There could be other moves on the horizon. I'm not sure. The trade deadline is Monday.
Yep.
And much like NHL teams at this time of year looking to improve, we're right there on the bubble. So we're looking for those extra 2 or 3 pieces to put us over the hump. And Brandon, I think, is going to be a huge asset to that just because of what he brings in terms of his mix of skill and physicality.
Talk to me a little bit about the two guys that obviously Binghamton fans know really well. I know Andrew Utero won't be with the team this weekend, but Nick Stuckless, the two of them have been with the Blue Ridge for most of the season. Talk to me a little bit about both of their play, and again, like I know that Utero is not with the team right now, but tell me about those two guys and what you saw this year.
Yeah, I saw great things from Andrew. I know that he personally expects more out of himself than what he was able to give, but nobody's anything short of grateful for all he did from the start of the year, what he was able to do on the ice, off the ice, in the community. He's just a terrific all-around guy. I got to meet his dad at the start of the season. His dad's great, too.
Yep.
His whole family's terrific. So nothing but good things to say about him, and I hope he's able to latch on somewhere and continue to have success. As for Stux, as we call him, mm-hmm. He's just been incredible from day one. And it's another one of those situations where, you know, we're a younger team. He's a young guy.
Yep.
Binghamton simply did not have room for him, and a young roster like ours can take him in and put him on the second line and at times bump him up to first, bump him down to third. He can flourish. And, you know, he's been nothing short of exactly the kind of player that Zemi loves, who's that gritty centerman who's got a hard, heavy shot. He's a smooth skater. He's not afraid to get into the dirty, greasy areas and throw the weight around, whether it's in the corners, in front of the net. He's not afraid to mix it up either. He'll drop the mitts when he has to. There are very few centermen. I've seen wingers and defensemen in my time in this league that have Brett Hull or Alex Ovechkin level one-tees. Very rarely have I seen a centerman with a one-timer that's as powerful as this guy.
Yeah.
This guy's one-timer has the power to break multiple panes of glass. Yeah. And he's an incredible asset on the power play as well. Our power play isn't, you know, where everyone would like it to be, but there's a reason that he's out there in the bumper spot almost every time on that first power play unit. Mm-hmm. And it's because he and Vlasov both have one-timers that are just killer.
So, coming into this weekend, obviously, against the Black Bears, I don't want to go through all their accolades and what they've done so far this year. You tell me what Zemi is trying to probably get into the mind of his players, because he probably doesn't want them to look at the stats or the standings or anything like that and just go into this probably with a hard-nosed mentality and just work hard, forecheck hard, that type of thing. What do you think he's telling his boys?
He's telling them the same thing that he's told them before games against Carolina, against Columbus, against Athens, which is, hey, they have all these guys, but they're playing in the same league we are, right?
Yeah.
They're getting paid the same money we are. They're playing in the same league we are, at the same level we are. They're not the Monstars from Space Jam, is basically how he's trying to put it. You know, he's trying to put them on a level playing surface. And I'll give you this stat. There's 3 teams in the league this year that have reached double-digit winning streaks. The Bobcats have ended 2 of them. They stopped Carolina's 10-game win streak and they previously, and they stopped Athens' 11-game win streak. So, like I said on the coach's show a couple nights ago, to Zemi, I said, well, you stopped 10, you stopped 11. I'm not saying 17 is a sure thing, but it's also not a complete impossibility.
What was his reaction to that?
He very much agreed. He said, yeah, I mean, that's, the message that he's trying to send is, that these are the kind of opportunities that a young team like ours wants, a young team like ours relishes.
And it helps build character.
To be able to play it at home in front of our fans and to have that chance to go out there. You're playing the defending champs. They've gotten to where you want to go. So the best way to take notes is to go out there and show them that you can play with them and you can beat them, and to show the rest of the league that as well.
Before I let you go, I got a couple small questions for you. The attendance has obviously gone up from last year to this year. You guys are averaging just under 1,500 fans. The renovations to the building, every picture, video, anything that I see coming out of there just looks great. Pretty amazing job that they did. What are the fans telling you guys about the improvements that not just the team, but the whole collective community did to that arena?
It's been nothing but positive. The administration with County, the time and the effort that they've put in, Jimmy Milliken, our GM, Chris and Jen Bernarski, Barry, our ownership group, all our staff, Trevor, Kendra, Jenna, everybody that put in so much hard work over the summer to bring it to this point. I know it's a bit of a pun with the naming rights and everything, but Hitachi Energy Arena is an electric factory, night in and night out. And to come to that point where it really, truly feels like a hockey arena, and the community itself is, if it's not already, it's becoming a hockey town.
Yeah.
If you walk down Main Street in Witsville, you will see a Bobcats flyer in pretty much every window, and every third person you see will have a Bobcats jersey on. They've got a Bobcats hat on. Folks are starting to trickle down from Roanoke. Winston-Salem fans that come up to see the Thunderbirds play here have raved about the improvements, and just the growth that we've been able to have to move from with County's team to truly being Southwest Virginia's team.
Yeah.
And just the entire region, the pride that they've shown and the support that they've given us and the support that they've pledged that they'll continue to give us as we continue to fight for the playoffs. We're going to need big crowds every single night, this weekend included. And we've got a lot of great theme nights planned and a lot of great ticket sales and packages and things that are planned. And season tickets are already on sale for next season, and those are moving along fairly quickly. So a lot of people are excited about what's to come, but also what's in progress right now with everything that we have put in place.
Let's talk a little bit about next season. Obviously, you and I had talked a little bit beforehand, and you said corporate sponsorships had grown, which is important. It's always important to get that to happen from year 1 to year 2, and year 2 to year 3, that type of thing. But next season, I thought the Black Bears and the Bobcats should have played at least 6 or 8 times this season. I mean, I know the distance, so to speak, is what it is, but at the same time, the distance between you guys in Monroe or you guys in Baton Rouge is about as long as it is for us to the Michigan teams. And I just thought, if anything, cross rival type of, interdivisional play, the Black Bears and the Bobcats could have easily played, 2, 3, and 3s home and away, which I think, could have given you 6 games easily. Do you think that's something that you would like to see in the future?
I would definitely like to see that next year.
Yeah.
And, from conversations I've had with people around the league and things that have transpired throughout the year, I feel like next year there's going to be a turn towards a more pod type scheduling.
Yeah.
Is playing Carolina no less than 14 times again going to be fun? Probably not. But going 15 hours to Baton Rouge or 13 hours to Port Huron is also not the most fun thing in the world. So going an hour and a half compared to 14 and a half is a completely different thing. You're going to have to make one trip north and one or two trips south here and there. But I think next year you're going to see, the smaller market teams, so to speak, like us. We're not going to be making that many trips to Topeka.
Yeah.
We're going to making a lot of trips to the Athens, to Columbus, to Winston, one or two to Baton Rouge, one or two to Mississippi, one or two up north to Motor City or Port Huron, maybe two, maybe three up to see the Venom or you guys or Danbury.
Yeah.
But, Watertown's probably out of the picture. Topeka's probably out of the picture until playoff time.
Yeah, Watertown's so north. Even Binghamton doesn't want to go to Water. No, I'm just kidding. It's pretty. Listen, when you go to Watertown, you can throw a stone and hit Canada. But I will ask you this: you seemed pretty upset about the Four Nations tournament ending, which I am as well. I'm probably in the same ballpark as you. You don't leave Connor McDavid alone in the high slot like that because he's going to score it every single time. But I have to ask you, was that not a great representation of what you and I love so much about hockey in that Four Nations tournament, especially those games between U.S. and Canada?
There's not a single moment in any of those games I watched. And we watched the first U.S.-Canada game on the bus coming back from Columbus. And when I tell you that all 23 guys on the bus were glued to one tiny laptop screen,
yeah,
even the European guys, and the U.S. and Canadian guys were actively trash-talking each other on the bus on the way home.
That's awesome.
Like it had that competitive feel. And
good
to see I don't know if you were able to see the ratings, but the championship game, 16-plus million across North America, which was the most in the 21st century. The last time North America tuned in that heavily to a hockey game, Wayne Gretzky's final game on Fox. Yes, wow. Fox had the NHL kids. That was a thing way back in 1999. Yeah, Fox had the NHL. They had a glowing puck. The robots fought each other between goals. It was the whole thing. I'd do some research on it sometime.
By the way, you're much younger than me. I actually lived that. I remember that. So I definitely remember that. I actually was the one guy who didn't hate the glowing puck because, believe it or not, TVs back then weren't high definition. And there were times you couldn't see the puck sometimes. Unlike when you're used to, like myself, going to the game so much and being able to see the puck everywhere it goes on television with those old CRT TVs, it was nice to have the glowing puck. I was probably the only person.
Contrary to and shockingly to many Canadians who lived at that time who called us idiots, it's kind of hard to see the puck on a 480i resolution television. So that's about 26 inches wide, especially for a 4-year-old in his bedroom, me, watching hockey at 8:30 at night, not worrying about the rest of the world, just listening into Doc Emmerich or Gary Thorne or whoever. So, it was hard. But to fully answer your question, what it did for the game, at our game Friday night, I saw two people with brand spanking new USA Four Nations jerseys.
That's awesome. See?
And the impact that it had ratings-wise, interaction-wise on social media. Matthew Tkachuk was on the Tonight Show, for goodness sakes. I don't think I've ever seen an NHL player on a late-night talk show that wasn't Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah.
And, Tkachuk might be out for the rest of the regular season. Jack Hughes might be hurt. But if you ask any of those guys, would you do it again if it meant missing the rest of the regular season? They would 100% tell you yes.
Yeah.
And what Dylan Larkin said right after the tournament was over, which was, we can't wait for the Olympics because we want to get these guys. That's what makes international best on best hockey so much fun to watch, is the pride that these guys have when they put on their country sweater.
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole different level. It's a whole different animal.
And
it ups the ante so much.
I've talked about this for the last 20 years here on the Power Play Post Show. What the world needs to understand is that American-born hockey players are that much closer, and they're so close to now the Canadian-born players. The amount of players that we're bringing in and their skill level is getting that much closer that particular game right there took an open Connor McDavid and just a great shot in overtime, a great pass. I mean, let's be honest. The pass was great because if that pass isn't perfect, he whiffs it or he does something, and it's just enough time for Hollenbeck to make the save, and then we don't know.
And let's be clear. That was great, and Austin Matthews forgetting to defend between the hash marks.
Yes.
We'll just leave that alone. They wouldn't have been there, and I'm a Blues fan, so I'm biased. I was rooting for the USA, but I was happy for Colton Parayko, and God was I happy for Jordan Binnington because the crap that he got from pretty much the whole nation of he's not the guy, we're going to lose if he starts the championship game, da-da-da-da-da. Can it? I don't want to hear it. McKinnon might have been MVP. McDavid might have gotten the game winner. But Jordan Binnington saved your maple leaf-ridden rear end 3 times in that overtime because that game should have been over at least twice.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you one thing. The state of Massachusetts and the staff at TD Garden hates to see Jordan Binnington walk in the building because when he walks in the building, he's stopping pretty much everything he sees. You can ask the Bruins about that.
Yeah, he did a phenomenal job. He is a great goaltender and obviously a gamer for sure. Brett, thank you so much for coming on. It was great. I'm sure these games this weekend are going to be fun for everybody involved. And I wish I was making the trip down. Unfortunately, my travel partner couldn't make the trip. So I will not be down, but I'm hoping now next year will be the year that I make it down to Blue Ridge to see this new renovated arena that has new seating, there's a press box now, and the most interesting picture that I always see is the one where you're hanging out of the window of the press box, calling the games, which is great. But Brett, thank you very much for coming on. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. You have a lot of energy, and I'm not just saying that because you broadcast at the Hitachi Energy Arena. You really do.
I appreciate that. And it's going to be a great weekend. For both fan bases. So for all of our fans, I hope everybody can make it out and pack it out this weekend. We're going to need you. And all the Binghamton fans, whether you're tuning in to Brooks, who will be in the booth to my right, or if you want to jump over to our broadcast, I hope everybody that even just follows the league tunes in this weekend because this is going to be a really, really competitive weekend.
Absolutely. He is Brett Wiseman, broadcaster of the Blue Ridge Bobcats. And Brett, thank you very much again for coming on.
Always happy to be here, Bob. Thank you.
And we'll be right back right after this, right here on the Power Play Post Show.
You're listening to the Power Play Post Show. Here is another Power Play Post Show interview exclusive with Bob Howard.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Power Play Post Show. I told everybody I had a really nice surprise for this week, and definitely came through on this one. Our next guest, he is a Commissioner's Cup champion with the Binghamton Black Bears, and he did leave the team and decided to kind of move on with life a little bit like Fitzy and Connor Smith did. But we're really excited to have him back here with us here on the Power Play Post Show. He is Andrew Logar. Andrew, Logs, welcome back to the show. It's great to have you, and I'm so glad we were able to catch up and reconnect again.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks a lot for having me. Appreciate that intro. That Commissioner's Cup thing never gets old. So, excited to be back talking to you and get a good show going.
Yeah. Hey, listen. All right. So where's the ring? Where do you keep the ring?
Well, for the longest time, I had it right in my living room on the fireplace there, but I don't know. I'm doing some rearranging now. I got the jersey hung up with my first gold puck in there. I got a nice little office set up, so maybe I'll get a nice shelf display for it or something sometime soon.
Yeah, I actually have the ring in front of me underneath my monitor. So as I'm doing the show or just working in general, if I want to, I can look down at it. It's kind of nice. It's not as nice as your ring, but it's still a great representation of last year. And last year was really good for you. 10 power play goals, obviously winning the championship. When you reflect on last year, your only full year pro, your thoughts. So what was it like for you all of last year?
It was obviously amazing. One of the most fun seasons I've ever had playing hockey. From start to finish, it was just all around good. I loved playing in that league, especially, you only get 3 lines or so you get a lot of ice time, a lot of games played. You're living with the boys. It was a really good way to end my hockey career, really. And, looking back on it, it was, like I said, probably one of the most fun seasons I've ever had playing hockey, and couldn't have drew up a better ending to it.
Yeah, going into the final game on May 10th against Carolina, you guys had already beat them twice down in Winston-Salem. What was that week like? I know you guys were kind of kept away from the media a little bit. I think Tyson and Jesse spoke to the media along with Brant. But you guys were kind of kept separate. For you, what was that week like? I know a couple of guys had said, it was just a regular week of just, working on the fundamentals and getting ready for the game. But individually for you, was there a little bit of anticipation, nervousness going into Game 3 against Carolina?
Not really. It was honestly a pretty normal week going up to it. We kind of knew that, we were going to get the job done. Maybe it wouldn't have been that first game like it was, but we basically had 3 shots to beat those guys one time, and we knew they were beat up pretty badly. So if we just brought it all, they really wouldn't stand a chance against us. So it was good. We just kind of fired on all cylinders that whole playoffs, and So
what was the celebration like?
I wish I remembered. No, I'm just kidding. It was good. It was unreal. Everybody's family, friends in the locker room, just blasting music. I look back on the pictures and I just think of how crazy it was. Going back out on the ice, taking pictures with the cigars and all that. It's just, it's insane. It's something that when you think about minor pro hockey, that's kind of what you think about. But it's cool because you kind of see the new age of the whole minor pro and what Binghamton's doing, bringing all the fans in, how they're treated and all that. But I do like how there is that little bit of minor pro to it, where you go out on the ice and you're taking pictures with beers and cigars after you win the championship, and really celebrating with the fans at the local bar after. So it was an unreal time, and I don't think anything could really, kind of come close to that night, that weekend that we had.
Can you think back to, obviously, not just the championship game, but a few days later, the celebration? The people probably don't realize, and some people probably look at the Fed and go, oh, it's single-A hockey, so what, blah, blah, blah. But the fans in Binghamton have really embraced the Black Bears. Take away the single-A part of it, take away the Fed part of it. The fans and the Black Bears are kind of like intertwined, like no one really truly understands. The celebration, there were 3,000 plus people there, maybe close to 4,500 people there waiting to see you guys and to celebrate the championship again with you guys. The night of the actual, May 10th, the championship game, the game 3, there were over 5,000. The place seats 4,893, and they packed in 5,011 fans. I don't know if you guys coming into Binghamton, when you first got here in 22, 23, at the end of your Buffalo State College career, I don't know if you knew how impressive the fans were going to be and how much they were going to support you guys. When you reflect back on that, are you amazed, surprised, so happy about it?
Yeah, amazed for sure. When I first came in, there wasn't really too much about the Fed on social media. I remember looking up, I just wanted to keep playing hockey after college, and I remember looking up trying to find some Fed games, and I think I stumbled upon like Watertown Stream, and I'm like, oh, okay, Watertown's rink, it's
Small.
Basic, maybe like a junior rink type of deal, but I was fine with it. I wanted to keep playing, and then I show up to Binghamton, and I walk in, and the first thing I see is the locker room, and I was just in shock, like, where the hell am I? I didn't think that it was anything like that. So yeah, from that moment, you have a good opportunity when you walk into something like that, and after being there just for that short time after college, I knew I wanted to just kind of work and just at least 1 year try to see, really try to win a championship, and obviously that's just half the battle when you're on the team. Some things people don't really talk about is just kind of the everyday grind, and you're fighting for a lineup spot and a roster spot with the guys you're living with, and sometimes you come close with them, and it's a grind every day, and so from the outside looking in, it is sweet that you're able to do that every day. You can go to the rink, hang out with the boys, mix in a hot tub every now and then with the fellas, and play some hockey. But at the end of the day, you are putting in some serious work, and it's just it's a grind, but it's something that obviously you remember for the rest of your life if you can get through it.
But the relationship with the fans, how important is that, or was that for you guys as well?
Yeah, it's sweet. I've never been a part of somewhere like that where there's fans and whatnot, just coming to watch you play hockey. So, from my eyes, I just thought I was just some basic D3 hockey player. We'd get a couple student sections, maybe the football O-lineman would be at the college game or something, but we wouldn't get more than 100 people in the stands. So,
all right.
Yeah, so, it was sweet.
So, Andrew, I got to ask you: do D3 O-linemen know what hockey is and how it's played?
I don't know if they know how it works completely, but they absolutely love the physicality of it. They get fired up.
Gotcha. And now, do you think you could have gotten any of those guys on an ice with some skates?
I don't know. I'd like to see it try. Some of them would probably tell me that they could skate very well, but I'd have to see it to believe it.
Yeah, it's because you started skating when you were like 3 years old, probably, right?
Yeah, I've been my whole life.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a little bit different than taking a guy who's probably very athletic. Don't get me wrong. I've found many times where football players and basketball players, they're very athletic, and then they fall in love with hockey, and then they try to put it on skates when they're 23 years old, and it just does not work out well.
They love it though. They're always skating around a million miles an hour when they do put on a pair of skates.
Sure, absolutely. For you, thinking back through your whole hockey career, was the pinnacle really that championship?
Yeah, I mean, how could it not be?
Yeah.
That's like I said, it's craziness to have a whole city behind you like that. Get a parade for the 25, 30 guys that were kind of part of the team. It's insane. Yeah, it's you can't ever top that, I don't think.
Was it an easy decision or a hard decision? I've asked Fitzy this. I've asked Smitty this. Was this an easy decision or a hard decision to step away?
It's a hard decision, obviously, but the way everything kind of unfolded with my life and whatnot. I definitely don't regret anything. I'm really happy where I am now, and everything just kind of fell into place. Last year, while I was playing, I was working remote for this company here, and so decided to go full time with them. Ended up, saving up money while I was playing. Bought a house over the summer with my girlfriend. So, yeah, just kind of moving on with life. I guess I did quit playing hockey, but I quit on my own terms, which I'm pretty happy about. So
okay,
yeah.
I want to know the difference. You get up in the morning, you go to practice, you maybe do some workouts, you maybe hit the hot tub with the guys, you go back, you guys have some meals, whatever it might be. What's the day like now? What kind of work? You don't have to tell us the company you're working for, but what kind of work are you doing now versus kind of like what your day would have been like when you were playing?
Yeah, a lot different day. Pretty much same thing every single day, going to the same office in the same chair and stare at the computer screen for about 8 hours. So
God, that sounds like my work day.
Yeah, nothing too fun, but the paychecks keep coming in, so you got to do it. But yeah, no, I like my job. It's good. I got some connections that work there and everything. So it's a good setup, and it's can't complain.
And I sit at a desk every day for 8 or 9 hours as well, and then I live vicariously on the weekends through the hockey players that I cover and whatnot. But you have played some hockey since leaving Binghamton, the Buffalo Tempest of the APHL. Tell the fans a little bit about what that league is kind of like compared to the Fed. So, I played some games with that team there. Their home rink is, kind of the rink that I live closest to. I grew up playing there. And, it's a fun league. It's full contact, full periods, 20-minute periods and whatnot. It's not as deep of a skill league as the FPHL, obviously, but I do think the concept of it is kind of cool. Mm-hmm. There is a lot of very good hockey players that obviously just have to stop playing. We all come to it. Sure.
And I think it is a cool concept to kind of, be able to still play competitive hockey just on the weekends if you got a job during the week and you just, Saturday, Sunday, play some games. Maybe, you get some of your boys on the team and make a roadie out of it, 3 hours or so for the weekend. It's fun, and, it kind of gets that competitive itch out of you, being able to hit people and whatnot. But, the league, I guess, just isn't, obviously as competitive as the Fed or anything at this point. Nor do I even know if that's the goal of it.
Sure.
But like I said, it's a cool concept, and I just love playing the game. So, I don't care if it's Senior C League. I'm going to go out there and try to win. So that's just kind of how I am.
Well, according to the league stats, you in 8 games have 17 goals, 19 assists, and 36 points. I think you're trying to rival the points per game that Tyson Kirkby's had this year so far.
Yeah.
You have you fought a couple of times as well, because that's Kirk's is up there with the points per game, and he's fought a couple of times. Have you dropped the gloves in this? Can you drop the gloves in this league?
Yeah, you can drop the gloves if you want. I haven't gotten a scrap yet.
Okay.
I guess my role is a little bit different on this team, but, you never know. You never know. If someone wants one, then I guess you got to do it. But, hey, if it's point night out there, though, I don't want to be sitting in the box, You got to grease the EP a little bit. Yeah,
no, absolutely. You said that it kind of fills that itch a little bit, and that's kind of cool that you can kind of do that and get that out of the way, because from what I've talked to a lot of players who eventually have retired or did retire, the hardest part was like, oh, I'm not with the guys anymore. So tell me and tell maybe some of the guys who might listen to this, who's the one guy you kind of missed the most? I don't want to say the most. It's kind of strange. But did you have a very strong relationship with any particular guy on the team that you probably kind of miss the most, or you guys, text almost every day or something to that effect?
I guess not one person in particular. The boys over at Whitney Point, we used to hang out a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yates's my old roommate. I miss that guy every now and then. I could just picture him. I see him on the ice sometimes just laughing at guys, and I can definitely hear it in my head exactly what he's doing. Kirkby too, obviously. Miss that guy. He's goofy grin every morning, missing tooth. So, yeah, all the boys, I miss them. And, I'm pumped that they're doing well, though. It's I love watching the games and turning it on. Like you said, Kirkby's always got something on Instagram for new milestone. So,
he does.
I can't even keep up with them. But, happy for him. It's fun to watch from the outside.
You talk about that. So you have watched some of the games this year?
Yeah, if I'm free, I'll always turn on the TV.
Are you surprised there's still because generally, as you know, I know you're a Buffalo guy, so unfortunately you don't know about this on the NHL side of things. Unfortunately, maybe the Bills, but the Bills will get there. I promise you. I truly believe it. Listen, I am not a Buffalo fan, but I love Josh Allen and the Bills, right? And I like the way they've kind of restructured that team. But are you surprised that the Black Bears have this success this year after winning a championship? Because so many times that doesn't happen. And they don't have one of their best power play guys on the team this year in you. So tell me, are you surprised, shocked, or not surprised at all that they're playing as well as they are?
Yeah, no, I'm not surprised at all. They really didn't lose, anybody too crazy, and anybody that they lost, they're able to fill the gaps pretty well. So, it's fun watching them dominate. Like I said, seeing all the highlights, it's fun. They're obviously all, really good hockey players, and I think now, just being a little bit more out there on social media and the games being better broadcast and whatnot, people are really starting to see how good Binghamton is and some of the teams in the Fed. So I think it's cool to see a little bit of recognition.
One of the conversations I've had recently here on the show with other people is about the importance of the Fed. I had this conversation with Andreas a little bit about how single-A hockey really has helped, the ECHL, right? Fill some holes once in a while. There are ECHL teams and Fed teams right next to each other now, right? Binghamton and Adirondack, Binghamton and Reading. These are just 2.5-hour drives to go to that. Do you believe that single-A hockey and the Fed can really become, I don't know if a partner with an NHL-affiliated system is a possibility, but it's still important, right? Because when ECHL needs players, when players are called up to the AHL and the AHL is getting called up to the NHL, they have to go somewhere, right? And it's going to be either the Fed or the SBHL. So how important do you think it is for the Fed to be well prepared and structured and ready to send guys to the ECHL?
Yeah, that's huge for the development of the league and everything. I think it's good too. The more guys you send from the Fed, obviously it makes the league look more legit. I know a lot of guys, they'll play like Division I, right? And they almost, sometimes they even look at the SP like, oh, I'm not going to the SP. That league sucks or whatnot. So they look even worse on the Fed. And the more teams that can kind of do what Binghamton are doing, treating them the right way, nice facility, fan bases, good living situation, just giving the players some equipment and whatnot to play, you'll get more guys to want to play there. Once kind of the secret's out about the way that, Binghamton treats the players, I think it was I'm sure Coach Sherwood got a lot of people reaching out to him wanting to play. And, it's all about the way that you treat the players. You get friends of friends, and, just look at what they got now. They got people coming out of retirement, Stone, Kyle Steffen, these guys, even Don's still like, why would I not play? And, I'm sure there's a lot more guys out there that are very good hockey players, played Division I level, that can still play and probably have that same thought, like, why would I not go play here? So I think it's great, what the Fed's doing, but definitely Binghamton in particular. They're really raising the bar and making people second guess even going to the SP, because they can get treated just as well down in Binghamton.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little. Let's have some fun here. Canada versus USA, the Four Nations tournament. What did you think?
That was some of the most exciting hockey that I think I've ever watched. I mean, that was just all around a lot of fun, and I'm so glad they did that. Obviously, the ending sucks for me, but it is what it is.
The ending was pretty kind of like, unfortunately, epic, for Canada, Team Canada. You're so close, obviously, to the border of Canada, being up there in the Buffalo area. Can you talk about the excitement that it was like up in Buffalo? I know the excitement across the country was pretty epic, but what was it like up there, where you have a ton of Sabres fans, and then right across the border, you really do have Ottawa. So there's a lot of closeness there. What was the excitement like?
Yeah, it's a hockey town up here. So, I mean, all the bars are, showing the game and whatnot. Me and my friends got together, just watched it at his house. And, it's fun, to kind of break up the NHL season. I can't tell you the last time I watched an All-Star game. So, this was definitely a better replacement. And, it was a lot of fun. Obviously, with Canada being right there, anytime there's something like this, you hate it, especially because we get that first one and everybody's talking all that talk, and go figure, Canada comes by and does what they do. So, and McDavid, of course,
in the high slot too, by himself. Nobody's there. I'm like, okay, Andrew, let me ask you this question, right? Because I said this to a buddy of mine who is he's a very good athlete, or at least was in his high school and college days and everything. I said, listen, if I gave you about 2 or 3 lessons with a stick on how to shoot a puck, if you would have completed that pass, you would have made that shot. I mean, Hellebuyck obviously is an outstanding goaltender, former guest here on the Power Play Post Show back in his AHL days, but I have to say, Andrew, if you were in that high slot right there and that pass came to you, you would have made that shot.
Yeah, I sure hope so, but I probably wouldn't be talking to you if I was.
Well, come on, I'm a nice guy. You would have taken my interview request, right?
Yeah, true.
Oh man, you lie so well. But the excitement was good. I liked what Connor McDavid had done over the last few years for the skills competition. I thought some of that was a lot of fun, and that was the only part that I really liked about the NHL All-Star break, was usually the skills competition. So I really did enjoy the Four Nations tournament. I do think, though, and I want to get your thoughts on this here real quick, there are a lot of great Russian players out there. Do you think, in your mind, that it would be better to have it be a Five Nations tournament and include Russia in there? Because I think they got all the nations correct except for Russia. Do you think that would be a good idea to get those Russian players there as well?
Yeah, you might as well. I mean, obviously, whatever's going on with the world, I'm assuming that's why they're not allowed to play. But, I mean, that's some of the best players in the world. Obviously, Ovechkin's about to break the goal record, so you want to see the top players in the world go at it. And, Russia would have definitely threw a curveball in there. So, why not add them?
Before I let you go, talk to me a little bit about the Sabres and how the Sabres are playing.
Sabres have been playing the same way for the past 14 years. They just cannot get anything done.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if it's something with the water in Buffalo or whatnot, but yeah, they gotta take a step back and rethink some things, because it's been a long time since we've seen some playoff hockey here, and once it finally comes here, I mean, this place is going to go bananas. And
it's a great place to watch a hockey game. I mean, fans.
Yeah,
I mean, I love going up there. Unfortunately, every time I see the Rangers play up there, we always lose to Sabres. No matter how crappy you guys are, you guys beat us when I'm there watching the Rangers there. So I don't know why that is. Matter of fact, the first time I ever went there, the Rangers got beat 11-1, and I had to listen to that stupid goal chant thing that they do there, all the way up to 11, and I was like, just come on, guys, come on. But it's a great place to watch a hockey game.
Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. And I remember, I mean, when I was younger, they used to do like the party in the plaza. You know, when playoff games are going, they put a big screen out there, and it could be an electric place to play. I'd really love to watch some playoff hockey here now that I'm older, and I really don't even remember what it was like, because I was probably, I don't know, maybe 14 or so, not too young, but
wow, yeah,
definitely a long time ago. So I'd love to see some playoff hockey here in Buffalo.
Yeah, because you're at the old age of 27, right? And and let's be honest, you can't remember that far back, right?
Right. Yeah. Right.
How about the Bills? Can the Bills eventually get over this little hump that they can't get over?
Yeah, Bills. I got a lot of faith in. I thought this year was going to be their year, but same story. I mean, they just same story every single year. I don't know what it is with these two teams. They're stuck in the same rut that they've been in for a while. But the Bills, I definitely got more faith in. Josh Allen, for sure, he's a beast out there. So
yes,
the Bills, I definitely got faith in them. Next year's our year.
Okay, last question, and then we will say goodbye to each other. Will the Binghamton Black Bears repeat? The only team, there's been no team to repeat in the Fed. Will the Black Bears repeat?
Yeah, Black Bears are repeating, and I can't wait to see it. So
will
get it done, boys.
If there's a home game in the finals down here, would you come down and watch it?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, I'm there. I'm
awesome.
Yeah, I'm celebrating harder than I celebrated when I won. If I'm there when they win.
That's funny, and the guys would probably just say, "Oh, Logs is here. Come on in." So Andreas, you heard that there. You better have a ticket ready for Andrew Logar in the finals, so you can come down and watch it. Andrew, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. One of the nice things about you, anytime you saw me, smile on your face, a hello, I really appreciate that. I'm glad we got to catch up a little bit again here. And good luck to you, and hopefully I can talk to you again soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Bob. Good luck the rest of the season, boys, and go Bears.
All right. And we'll be right back right after this, right here on the Power Play Post Show.
If you're a Binghamton hockey fan, then you need to check out binghamtonhockey.net for all your news, stats, information, the Binghamton Hockey Hall of Fame, top 10 lists, profiles, and so much more. That's binghamtonhockey.net. You're listening to the Power Play Post Show.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Power Play Post Show. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing from Andrew Logar again. I was happy to get to talk to him again. What a really great guy, and I wish nothing but the best for him. And he's racking it up. When he does play in the APHL for the Buffalo team up there, he is killing it. He is good enough to play in the Fed and should be. And he was so good on the power play for the Binghamton Black Bears last year. And I think it was one of those things where people were like, wait a second here. Andrew's got 10 power play goals. It's not that they were surprised that he could do it. It's just he quietly did that. which was pretty awesome. So that's pretty much it for me. We got obviously 3 games against the Blue Ridge Bobcats coming up, and I want to again thank obviously Brett Wiseman for coming back on again. It was great to talk to him. We got to talk to him last year and now this year again as well. So very cool. The Power Play Post Show is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, YouTube, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Just search Power Play Post Show on whichever platform you listen to your podcasts, and please subscribe. Please join the Power Play Post Show Facebook group. Just go to Facebook, search for Power Play Post Show. People are joining pretty much every single day, and I very much appreciate that. We're trying to get to 1,000 members by the end of this season, and hopefully that'll happen pretty soon. Check out binghamtonhockey.net for all your Binghamton hockey information and curiosity. Thank you very much to Rob Lapolis, our MC, John Patitucci, our musical director, and, of course, from the Blue Ridge Bobcats, broadcaster Brett Wiseman and former Binghamton Black Bears forward and Commissioner Cup champion Andrew Logar. I am Bob Howard. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll talk to you next time right here on the Power Play Post Show.
Thanks for listening to this edition of the Power Play Post Show. Be sure to tune in next week to the Box Studios Radio Network for all the latest Black Bears news and interviews from around minor league hockey. The Power Play Post Show would like to thank John Patitucci for all the music you hear on the show. You've been listening to the Power Play Post Show.